The Kray brothers, Ronnie and Reggie, have achieved a peculiar immortality in British popular culture. Their names evoke images of sharply tailored suits, smoky East End clubs, and a criminal empire run with ruthless efficiency. Films, memoirs, and the natural nostalgia of London folklore have helped elevate them to the status of near mythical underworld kings. Yet the historical record paints a very different and much less impressive picture. The Krays were indeed violent, feared, and notorious, but they were also remarkably incompetent as gangsters, impulsive in their decisions, careless in their management, and far more interested in being seen as powerful than in constructing a durable, profitable criminal enterprise. Their murders were vicious and unnecessary from any business point of view. Their incomes were far lower than legend suggests, and the mythology surrounding them owes more to tabloid sensationalism than to any true criminal brilliance. The Krays rose to fame in the 1950s and early 1960s, a time when the East End of London was changing rapidly. Post-war austerity had given way to a new consumer culture, but social mobility remained limited and local loyalties ran deep. The twins, along with their older brother Charlie, capitalised on lingering wartime romanticism surrounding toughness, loyalty, and working-class identity. They projected an image of unbreakable devotion to family and neighbourhood. This image was crucial to their reputation, but the substance behind it was shallow. Their businesses, nightclubs, gambling rooms, and protection rackets were not particularly extensive or profitable. Even at their height, the so-called Kray empire was little more than a network of loosely connected ventures that produced modest returns. A significant reason for their limited financial success was their lack of organisational discipline. Successful criminal syndicates, whether in London, New York, or Sicily, rely on stable hierarchies, risk management, and secrecy. The Krays pursued the opposite. Ronnie in particular craved attention. He wanted to be known, photographed, quoted. He cultivated relationships with celebrities, politicians, aristocrats, and even journalists, not because these connections offered strategic advantages, but because they conferred glamour. He wanted to appear important, not simply be successful. This hunger for visibility created glaring vulnerabilities. Their clubs attracted fashionable Londoners, yes, but also police informants, undercover officers, and rivals. The Krays conducted intimidation in full view. They bragged, they posed for photographs, they moved through the city as though immune from consequence. In effect, they dismantled the protective anonymity that organised crime depends on, all in the pursuit of reputation. Their use of violence reflected the same lack of restraint. The murder of George Cornell in 1966 is one of the clearest examples. Ronnie Kray shot Cornell in the bar of the Blind Beggar in Whitechapel, in front of multiple witnesses. Cornell posed no immediate danger to the Kray organisation. The killing was driven not by strategy but by vanity. Ronnie felt slighted and wanted to demonstrate dominance. The result was a surge of police pressure and growing unease among their associates. Fear replaced loyalty, and fear, particularly fear of erratic violence, is not a sound foundation for an organisation. Likewise, the killing of Jack the Hat McVitie in 1967 revealed Reggie's deteriorating self-control. McVitie had failed to complete a job for the Krays and demanded payment regardless. Other criminal networks might have quietly cut ties or neutralised McVitie without spectacle. The Krays instead staged a humiliating confrontation and carried out a brutal murder in front of witnesses. It was reckless, emotionally driven, and utterly counterproductive. It did not strengthen their control. It made collaborators wary and emboldened police and prosecutors who had long lacked cooperative witnesses. These killings did not consolidate power. They accelerated the collapse of the Krays' already fragile criminal structure. Far from being respected for calculated ruthlessness, they became feared for unpredictability. Their empire was not a stable hierarchy, but a loose circle of acquaintances held together by intimidation, not by shared financial incentive. But the truth, when stripped of glamour, is straightforward. The Kray brothers were not strategic criminal masterminds. They were impulsive, unstable, and poorly equipped to run a lasting criminal network. Their murders were vicious, unnecessary, and economically self-defeating. Their influence was tenuous, rooted more in reputation than in structural power. They are remembered not because they were great criminals, but because they were visible criminals who lived in an era fascinated by spectacle. The Krays mistook visibility for strength, notoriety for authority, and fear for loyalty. In the end, their empire collapsed not due to overwhelming police strategy or rival supremacy, but because there was remarkably little substance there to sustain it. The myth of the Krays remains culturally powerful, but the reality is that they were incompetent gangsters,